The experiencer dialogues are not about translating phenomenon to consensus reality. It's about witnessing the radical changes occurring in our consciousness and recognizing that who we are becoming is far more than what we were told was possible. We all agreed to share this one.
There's another way to live life. There's another way to do life. There's another way to create life. You know, outside of this very small, limited box of reality that we've all known, there's a whole new way.
And then also hearkening back to when I was very, very young, I seemed to consciously know that whatever I was told was bullshit. Yeah. That if I did the opposite, I'd be doing good. And I also knew, thank God, to never share any of my experiences with my parents.
God bless them. They came here to interrupt my life over and over and over and over so that I would notice that I'm trapped in something that is not who I am.
So I have no idea what happened the day before I had this, because everything for me at the moment is just it's coming and then it's going, it's coming and it's going. Yes. So I lose track of time.
Understood.
Of what happened. No idea.
Understood. Yeah.
So this was the 9th of July. So however many days ago that was now. Mm-hmm. And I had this experience, this dream, whatever, and I woke up from it. I woke myself up from it, I think, and then I wrote everything down, and then I just kind of like left it there, and I think I put it to you guys on Telegram, but I just kind of left it there because again, at the time I had trouble working out whether it was an experience or whether it was memories or whether it was something to do with the future or what we're about to come to. So I just kind of left it there and just let it do its thing, basically, and just try and integrate it. So I didn't really think anything else of it. And then I listened to the channel. I picked up this guy, and that was about 3 days later. And I mean, again on YouTube, I just kind of like scroll through things and pick up things and whatever. Some of it I listen to, some of it I don't. Anyway, I decided that day that I would listen to that one. And when I just listened to it, I was like, it kind of started off talking about the whole 5G thing and kind of stuff like that. So I've heard about all of that stuff before, and so I didn't really pay too much attention about that. But it was then later on, halfway through, when he was saying about the thing that really grabbed me was he was saying about the people who, like you and us and others like us, who are out there embodying this frequency and demonstrating it and helping others to be it and see it too, that we were going to be targeted because they wanted to stop the people who were doing it from kind of, spreading their words, spreading their light kind of thing. I can't remember what he said in his channel now, but that was the moment where I was kind of like, oh, my ears pricked up, because it's like, that's something that I had in my experience 3 days before. And that was when I just kind of really started listening to that. And I can't even remember anything else now from that, but it was just, there was something else as well. Oh, he was something to do with the, something to do with the body farm. So, whoever it is, I can't remember who it is now. Maybe some of the Greys, I think it was the negatively swayed Greys having body farms and cloning and creating human bodies that they're going to then come into later.
Oh yeah, in the Pacific Ocean or
In
something
the Pacific
like that.
Ocean, that was it.
That's right, I
That was
remember that bit.
Yeah. So that struck a chord with me somewhere too. And I hadn't got that specific information before, but I've in the dream experience thing, and I think previously I've had visions of or feelings of that something's going on, and I can't even describe it now. Just that, it's to do with consciousness. It's to do with consciousness. That was what it was. And it was to do with, yeah. So these people also, so you've got these greys who are doing this body farm or whatever, but then there's also the people in it, the human beings here on Earth who they've been talking to, and who are in power and can control a lot of the stuff that goes on here at the moment. And it was to do with the mind control. That was it. It was to do with the mind control and how that is operating. And then that is how they know a lot to do with consciousness and how it works. So therefore, they already have some kind of inkling about how it all works, but they still don't fully understand what it is to be human and these inner technologies that we have. So although they're kind of aware of it and perhaps can access some of it, they can't access the full frequency of it, the full harmonics of it. And I think this is where we become the danger for them, because we do have full access to that. And that's how, therefore, they can't control us, because we're not in that frequency to still be controlled, because we're still out of that frequency. And some of that came through from my experience, I think. Again, do you know what? I've forgotten most of it, because it so does. It just comes and then it goes again, right, doesn't it?
Understood. Yeah, understood. Yeah.
So yeah, but those were it was just for me, what really struck out was how they were going to target us, and it was to do with energy weapons, and it was to do with mind control, and that they were going to be they could see who was leading these things. So people like us, and they were going to target us, and they might well have already started targeting us. And some of us they've been able to take down, but some of us they still haven't reached yet, and won't be able to reach. I don't think won't be able to reach because as some of the stuff that I'd written, we've got so finely tuned to all this frequency stuff now that we can tell when something's not quite right. So we're aware of when the energy hits us. So in my experience, there was this real sense of something, just this energy ball kind of thing hitting the back of my head into my brain. And that's when I woke myself up, because it was like, no, I don't want this. I can feel what this is and I don't want it. So I woke myself up. But it's like, it's those kind of things that's how they're going to be targeting us in the future.
Okay, can I respond?
Yeah.
There's a lot here to unpack, and it very much relates to a lot of whether it's downloads or dreams. I've been navigating this, and I see what's happening. I know, I do not deny these things that are happening, and this is the way it's always happened at these intersections in time. And my strong sense is, yeah, I'm getting a lot of energy here. So my strong sense is that the memories are resurfacing. It's the memories are resurfacing for a lot of us right now. And it does get a little foggy and confusing because just of the way we framed things before. but that this time we not only will succeed, but we are succeeding. And that many cycles in the past have brought us to this point, and we didn't quite make it to the enough embodiment to, you know, like radiate this and be this. And so there is fears, memories of being attacked, memories of no, we will control the lower reptilian brain. This is how we manage you. This is ours. We're claiming this. And what we're doing now is we're remembering the full spectrum of our reptilian connection. And it's such deep programming. It's always been pounded into us, this, you know, so many aspects of this, like, you know, you're a piece of shit because you just fall back into your reptilian brain, and you're, you know, you're clueless, and we're so easy to manage that way. They just pummel us at this timing, where we're ready to go, you know, supernova, as one astrologer, I've heard her use that term. And so what I'm perceiving overall, Liz, is that it's all coming in at once. It just kind of went,
yeah.
And you're like, yeah, there's that. And so you're in this, you really are back in that sphere, right? Yeah. So when all of these lifetimes and life experiences come in, this is the moment. It's telling you this is the moment where we have been so many times before, and in these other lifetimes, you kind of planted, you left a breadcrumb, or there was some kind of, you know how sometimes when you want to remember something and you don't know what to do, so you just put something odd at your door, so you'll go, wait, why is that there? Oh yeah. You know, I used to do that all the time. It's like that. It's like we set this marker for this time just so that we would go, oh, I see. Here we are again. Thank you, all my other lifetimes and selves, you know. And that I even had a dream about the direct energy weapons was taken and put inside Cheyenne Mountain, which is a military base inside of a mountain. And I experienced the direct energy weapons. And so that was kind of like my little heads up that this, okay, this is the climate now. You're entering this. Will you rise? And will you recognize it's, you know, it's okay if we're afraid, right? It's okay if we go, ooh, this is creepy, or, oh, I don't want that to happen. Well, actually, what these markers we set for ourselves are for is to say, remember, don't slip back. You are this light, and you will shift this. You know, that's of all the pieces that are coming to me similarly to yours, or same kind of storylines or feelings, you nailed it on the basic point of all of this is, oh, we are this, we can do this, and we each of us have left those markers for ourselves, and we help reinforce it in each other.
Yeah, I think I'm just at a point where I'm so, for me, this has happened so quickly in really like 2 years, really. All of this has just gone boom for me.
Yeah.
So I think I just get really excited when I hear others who are it reminds me of what I experienced.
Yeah.
Oh, someone else has experienced
Yeah.
that. He's picking that information out of the field. Oh, that's just what I've experienced, you know. I think I'm still in that, I'm just like, wow moment, you know.
Right.
So, and that, I think that's what it is. I just get really excited about the fact that others are hearing and seeing and feeling the same things as me. To me, I'm a kid in a candy store, I think.
No, I get it. I do.
Yeah,
and
I
think,
never get tired of that either, you know.
I don't get
like
tired
that.
of it.
Yeah.
I like
but no, I mean, I totally feel exactly what you're saying, Eileen, is that I really do feel like we did leave, these are breadcrumbs for ourselves. I totally resonate with that when you say that, you know, we have left ourselves these things to pick up at these particular points in the way, to just kind of, it is just to kind of go, look, here you go, this is it, this is this little part, and then this is this little part, and then this is the, you know, and as you go, you then bring it all in, don't you? And then your picture just keeps on expanding and becoming more whole as well, actually.
You begin to own it more instead of it being outside of yourself, like, wonder what that is. Next thing you know, it's integrated and it's like not even a thought. You're just moving forward even more and integrating more.
And I think it's trying to make sense of things for me as well, because it's just gone woof in 2 years. It's like, you know, my human self does have trouble keeping up with some of this stuff, you know, because it's so expanse and it's so big and it's so, you know, in the not real world, you know, it's that trying to meet what was real and what is real somewhere in the middle for me is, so I find that quite a challenge sometimes.
Of course.
So I will have these really expansive experiences and then kind of go back the other end of the spectrum and kind of go, oh my God, what the hell was that? And then, but then there's that integration process where you then kind of slowly kind of meet in the middle. But that's the kind of thing I love about this stuff, because it is constantly this, isn't it? It's constantly expansive experience kind of going, oh God, and then kind of integrating, and then another expansive experience, and it just keeps going, doesn't it? It doesn't stop.
No, and in fact it's accelerating now. So it's like we have to have a certain amount of this in place and anchored for what we're heading into. So quickly we will recognize that our sense and sense making in the previous reality will become less and less obvious as the real world, right? I mean, we all called this the real world. We all bought into that. Oh, my fantasy land as a child and the magic that I experienced is not real, and they need to bring us into the real world where you get a job and you get married and you have kids and you know whatever the script is that our parents gave us. That's all going to lose its validity. It's not going to be like what are we falling back on or falling into when the world as we know it is just gone? Then who are we and how do we navigate? So that's why we're building this and strengthening this inside, because I think we can all...
That's a pivotal statement, Eileen. That's a pivotal statement, because that's what it's all about, isn't it? It's this, what I relate to what Liz is saying about, we have these peak experiences and then you have to integrate it. And that's been going on for both of us. I mean, Liz, you're in the right place sharing this stuff, because Eileen and I have been doing this for fucking too long. It's just, you, for me, I finally got it into my head about 1.5 years ago that what I was experiencing, and it was from direct contact with Eileen. And it was that what I had always experienced and what my world was all about previously, that was real. I finally got it.
Yeah.
And so I've been really able to, I think, make a lot of headway with it. And then also hearkening back to when I was very, very young, I seemed to consciously know that whatever I was told was bullshit. Yeah. That if I did the opposite, I'd be doing good. And I also knew, thank God, to never share any of my experiences with my parents. And I think that was a life-saving, although it isolated me and I was lonely with it, it's better than having ended up in a psych ward.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, so I think we all knew what was going on in an early age. Then we went through all the trauma of the signposts, the markers, the remembering, the adjusting, and moving into the period that I feel I'm in now, and that a lot of us are in now, is like really owning, yeah, this is it. This is it. That sort of seems to me a simplification of the path that I went down, you know, and from what I've heard from Eileen too, similarly, you know, I can, and after talking with people who had similar experiences, like you're saying that you need, Liz, we all need it, yeah. But after that, it makes you much stronger. It has made me much stronger in following my intuitions, following my hits, having stronger trust and faith, and in the ultimate good, in the mother, in you know, higher frequency, you know, maintaining higher frequency, whatever it is, you know, I feel much more solid now than I ever did before in who I am, you know, in the all capital letters, you know, and what I came here to do in all capital
exactly
letters.
It's all the same thing.
Yeah.
It's that moment where you you rise into it.
Yeah.
And you say, oh, okay, I claim this. Yeah. I mean, we're not claiming an identity. I'm a superhero and I'm here to save everybody from the bad, evil forces. It's, oh, I know who I am. I accept this. I claim this. I walk with this. I radiate this. Yeah. And That's here.
That's a huge step. It's a huge step.
It is absolutely the biggest step.
Yeah.
And it changes.
I guess it's analogous to finally swallowing the blue or red pill or whatever it was in the Matrix, whichever I never remember, but it's analogous to the commitment that, yes, what I've learned and what I've been told and all my dreams and all my experiences and everything like that, this has all been real. Yeah. And other stuff has been going on behind the scenes that I was unaware of, and now I'm starting to become aware of, and whoa.
That's the key phrase. This is real.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is the real world. It's me. It's my connection to the creative force, universal force. It's recognizing that I am that. And I'm online now. This is kind of what I've translated through the messages, that this is how we come back online with Source. And then this is how other people in our midst are changed, not because we spew all these great and wonderful words, but because we just are it. And that changes people.
Yeah.
But this is the hero's journey. This is the path of all paths. And so we're walking it, we're demonstrating it, we're forgiving ourselves when we forget and we slip a little. And you know, this is really what the bulk of the download was a few weeks ago when we had that conversation. And since in my last Sunday, zeroed in on more that they were showing me. And I posted that as my latest YouTube video. That was a part of that big download of, this is what we're doing. It's like pulling out and going, okay, here's the map. Here's what you're doing. And we brought ourselves to that cross, that intersection, where then the choice is made. And this is where we are now. We're stepping into it, and we're being it. And we're still, I was going to say learning, but we're still remembering.
Yeah.
More aspects, more pieces are going to come in, and we're going to go, like I like to say, ka-chunk, and then you go, oh yeah, and like then you have more life force energy, you have more light. It's a beautiful thing. And even in the face of all the judgment that comes at us, we still one foot in front of the other. So yeah, for some reason, I've always been shown what the dark's doing. And
Me too.
It's always been okay, I mean, just little things too, like they'll show me, they'll just drop me into a room full of laughter of these humans who are aligned, who are, like they're in the mafia, let's say. It's like a cosmic mafia. And they don't fully understand the human components. They've just, mostly because they've been taken over. There's a lot more about that, but they laugh at us. They absolutely laugh, especially at the ones who are responding and behaving in accordance with the psyops, with the mind control. They laugh and they laugh. They love it. It is so fun for them. And I just think, if these people only knew, if they could get a glimpse of that, wow, they would just probably die on the spot, because all their belief systems, they would shatter completely.
Short circuit.
Yeah. So some of these things that you spoke of, Liz, and what this channel spoke of, yeah. But we have to keep it, I feel, we have to keep it framed in a way that, these are echoes from other times. When it was like, oh no, they're doing it again. Oh, run away. Or what do we do to avoid them from seeing us? See, these were the reactions in the past. What we're doing now is, I'm here.
Yeah. I think that was the really confusing thing with this experience, because it did feel like it was memories coming up. And there was also, it was also like I had done loops of this before.
Yes, that's exactly it.
And then, this time I'm choosing a different path on this one.
Yes.
And then I would loop around that one a little bit more, and then another one would come up.
Yes.
And I felt that quite a lot throughout, and that was a theme throughout the whole thing, I felt. And that's why it was just, I know that I've been here before. Okay, yeah, I recognize this now. Okay, now I'm making this choice.
Right.
And then I began to see others around me do the same as well. I began to see the moments where they were waking up and they were making different choices. And it was just, but at the same time, it was like I was experiencing it at
Yes.
that moment as well.
That's
And
the intersection, the
that's
crossover.
that's the really confusing thing for me. And I don't think I've ever experienced it quite as that on point intersection before.
Yeah, well, we're here now. Yeah. And that's the announcement, really. You know, that's what I'm realizing right now about this July 2021. That it's kind of been pointing me, not like, look at July 2020, just kind of like this periphery feeling. July.
Yeah, we both had that marker.
July, yeah. And that it isn't necessarily that it's a big event. It's that, okay, this is the marker. Yeah. This is where it lands in time space, right? And then, as I said in my Sunday recording, and you guys can probably really relate to this as well. It's always been hard with time space, especially when you have a precognitive, a dream or just a download, and you have like, oh, something's going to happen, something's happening, and it might be 2 years later, or even in the messages, it feels imminent, when I translate this, and then it wasn't, it's 10 years later, here it is.
Right.
So that I've had to learn the subtleties of that as well. Right. That the sense of something imminent is more to do with me and my time space orientation than it is, here's what's going to unfold. And Zuzanna, you and I have talked about how they plant things starting 20 years, in some 20 years ago in some form, and then another plant, and then till finally you go, it's like embodiment. Finally you go, oh, I'm here, I've arrived, and it's the same thing with the, it's just brilliant. It's fucking brilliant. I don't know how it works, but we're talking about subtlety, just the slightest of breeze, of, you just have to learn, remember how this works.
Right.
And then we start to remember the dance moves from these other points, reference points in the time space, in other lifetimes. We start to go, oh, I know this dance, and also the analogy of surfing. When you catch that wave, not that I've ever surfed. I've done the boogie boarding, but not a surfboard. And it's just so subtle. And this is where my excitement is, to have a conversation like this with two other people here that are like me, and I don't have to explain it.
Right.
This is mind-blowing for each of us in this way, I know. But then trying to take, this is where I messed up, is trying to take something like this and me just going, oh, this is the most amazing, beautiful, wonderful thing, and it's my excitement, and yay! And then putting it on YouTube and thinking, people are just going to love seeing and witnessing this, right?
It's going to change the world.
Yay. And then crickets, and people are like, whoa, he is so woo that I have to give her a wide berth. Don't even talk to her on social media, that when I was still on Facebook a while back. Those are the patterns I started to notice. And then comes the doubting yourself. You fall back into the doubting yourself. Yeah. Maybe I am a crazy lady. But no, the feelings, the communication, the knowing, the presence.
It's so goddamn real, isn't it? This is this is real.
This is real. Yeah.
And I just think, how can you see anything else as real once you're here?
When have the direct experience of it.
Yeah.
Repeated direct experiences, because you can certainly rationalize and just avoid one experience, like, well, that was a weird dream, or that was, okay, now back to work. It's when it keeps happening, and it's this presence that's like, yeah, it might be ET. It comes in the form of ET, comes in the form of light beings, comes in the form of an orb, comes in the form of a fairy presence. It's like, I've experienced all of them, and you guys have too. And from what I've heard from what you've shared, the paranormal part, it doesn't matter. It is that they are reaching, and these other it appears to be other intelligences in this 3D polarized spectrum. But it's, if you want to look through the Jungian lens, we could say, well, these are aspects of ourselves that are coming back and saying, please integrate me. You pushed me away in order to fit into that ridiculously small reality in that box. And so when consciousness is concerned, it's like, that's just one mind-blowing conversation after another. And it's not about trying to sense making in 3D will never make sense. This is another thing I learned and finally accepted. It's never going to make sense. You have to change your consciousness, and then there's a whole different way of sense making. It informs your body, informs your heart, and then you get to practice it without having anybody say, good job. You get a gold star for integrating that, right? You just have to trust that love that is speaking, communing with you. I don't care if it's an orb or an ET or a fairy. I don't care what it is. That it's delightful when it happens. So we get to discover these things as we go, and the judgment is one of the hardest parts of the journey, because that's when you have to make that full claiming it, right? What we were talking about before. We claim it, we own it, we embody it. And there is no question about what is real and what is not, right? Yep. And man, it gets confusing. It really does. And that's why these connections we have with each other in this way, why they are so precious. And why this is what I value the highest is this reflection now and witnessing for each other, which we did not have before.
Right. Yeah, it's the best.
I am so thankful I found you two fairly early on in my journey compared to you guys, because I did struggle for a while on my own, and then I came across you, and then it was like, oh yeah.
And it's fascinating, isn't it, that we all have these different kind of plans in place. Like yours, you had the 2-year plan, the 2-year jumpstart plan, Liz.
Yeah.
And poor Zuzanna and I, we were born here and went, whoa, shit, what is this?
Born here fucking doing it, yeah.
Oh, the pain and the suffering. Zuzanna and I have talked about this sometimes, just like, oh my God, how did we ever survive?
Yeah. I don't know how you did it. I mean, it's just been so mind-blowing.
We don't either. We don't really.
We don't know.
I don't know how you've done it. Because it's like I said before, each time you experience something, it does transform you.
Yes. Bit by bit by bit.
And to have done that when you were younger and have to have done that for so long as well. But I mean, that I just don't know how you've done it.
Without any kind of contact with anybody else who knows what
Yeah.
the fuck we're talking about.
Exactly.
I mean, it's only because I believe the reason is that we signed a contract at the beginning and we were going to do it no matter what.
And we thought, we were like, oh, we are bad asses.
Yeah.
We got this.
We got this. And then we get here and it's just like amnesia. And then here you go. Now you start the actual mission and oh boy.
It's like incognito. It's like we're undercover, except what happens is you slip under and you believe yourself, to be that identity, that ego identity. And to some extent, that's the case for everyone, right? We all kind of come here, and depending on our childhood environment, I know some people have, more benevolent experiences in childhood than others. But what I write in my book is, I was awake. I was a child that was awake. And I saw things and experienced things and I interacted with them and it was delightful. It was when my family and teachers and friends said, stop. This doesn't work here. And that's when you start cutting off.
Yeah. I had
yourself up.
Yeah.
I had a very, very similar experience, but totally different in that I've been having soul rescue sessions with a local shaman for about the last 3 years as well.
Mm-hmm.
And through one of these sessions, it came out that around age 3 or 4 was when I was shut down by my mother.
Yeah.
So I think I had obviously been, when I was younger, when I was born, and then when I was a small toddler, I was of where we're at right now. I know now that I feel that is where I was. And I, like you were saying, was interacting with these things. I was seeing these things, hearing these things, feeling these things. And then I think around age 3 or 4 was when I must have vocalized something to my mother, who then immediately shut me down.
Shut it down. Mm-hmm.
And she shamed me and she told me that, no, you cannot speak ever like that, ever again. That is not how the world works. And from that moment, it was like, no, you're now going to be in the real world. This is how the real world works.
Right.
This is how you are. This is who
the script.
you are.
That's the script. Yeah.
This is how you interact with people. This is what you say. This is what you do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
And so that was my life from then until 4 years ago was when I first started kind of really realizing something was not quite right here. And actually, funnily enough, it was an incident with my mother actually that set the whole thing off in motion. And I just kind of realized that she was not the mother that I wanted her to be. And it was to do with this whole story of I had idolized my mother. I thought she was wonderful. I thought we had this lovely, close relationship, all of this, that, and the other. And there was a moment where she really, really let me down, really, really a lot. And then it just hit me. And in that moment, it hit me and a switch flicked within me. And it was like, no, something is not right here. Something is not right.
Yeah.
And it's to do with my relationship with my mother and what I've been told is right, is real, should be, should not be. And it was not how I was feeling inside. And that's why I felt let down so much, because it didn't match what this outside world was meant to be.
Right. And thus, that's where the trauma actually begins.
Yeah.
There's a wedge that is driven between what you know and what you're told.
Yeah.
And I know this was the source of my extremely low self-esteem.
Yeah.
I do. When you're told no, what you're feeling is wrong, then it's like, whoa, I do suck big time. Like I don't know how this works. So then you set yourself up for that, that victim thing. Like or not so much the victim at this point, but when you have all this self-doubt about yourself and you begin to deny your true gifts, your soul gifts and your soul technologies that you're born with.
Yeah.
I started to just defer to everyone. Like,
me too. Me too.
Like,
That's
I
it.
don't know. I don't know anything apparently.
I was going to say, yeah.
So,
you give away your power and you let everybody else decide for you what's real.
Exactly.
Until you can't stand it anymore. And for me, I would just kind of like, lose my shit for a period of time, and that was it. And then I would try again to give my power away to the next person. And it's just like, fucking
and
hell.
then they will look at you as, oh, Zuzanna, she's mentally ill. She
she's
see someone
not
about
stable.
that.
She's not stable.
Yeah.
And where in fact we were right all along.
Yeah.
And then there's the uncovering of that and the rediscovery of it, and the reclaiming of that at some point later in your life. So that was my journey. And I know that there's a lot of people out there that have traversed this, have also, walked this path, and who are awake now or actively awakening and reclaiming their power, which is precisely what this dark force, dark energy that has been harnessing our human power, our human divine spark light for so long now, through so many cycles. This is precisely what they're trying to avoid, and why us actually waking up, us actually coming online in this way.
Right.
So, fascinating journey.
And can I just add as well, the funny thing was that I always knew growing up, you see, this is it, I've always known and be able to read frequency. So there was something, as I was growing up, I could see that what the words that my mother and those around me were saying did not match
exactly
what I was feeling and seeing. And then yet every time I brought it up and I said something to these people that it didn't really match, again, I was like, well, that's not what I said. No, you're seeing things into that. Or you're reading way too much into that.
Oh, yeah. Those two lines. Yes. Yeah.
So, but again, if you get that all of your life, you then kind of go, oh, well, okay, it must be me then. I must be wrong.
Yep.
So then you end up living your life kind of doubting yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
And then always looking, like you said, looking to others also to kind of guide you, to tell you what you're meant to be doing or whatever.
Yeah.
Spending all your energy trying to figure out, okay, since if I'm wrong, how do I figure out what's right?
Yeah.
And so you're spending all your energy negating, forgetting, and looking out to other people all the time. It's just, it's madness, just madness.
It is madness. And I'm finding this really difficult right now with the husband, because again, I can see him and he does these cyclical things of where he gets really stressed out with either stuff that he's coping with or, stuff that keeps coming back. We've just had 2 out of the 3 kids home for 2 weeks where they've been self-isolating, where they've had cases at school. So we've had to go back to the whole homeschooling, and that's a bit of a nightmare. So, again, the whole added stress of that kind of thing, it's like, it then sets him off in his cycles. And then, it sets me, then I notice myself joining in with those cycles.
Yes. Yeah.
Because you get pulled,
Gravitational pull.
back, you get sucked back into it.
Yeah.
And then after a few days or a week, I'm kind of going, oh yeah, no, actually I'm feeling all these things. And it's like, oh, today I was like, oh, I've been here before. I felt these last time, and that was only a couple of months ago. So it's like, oh right, we're back here again then, right now. Okay.
Yeah.
So then it's kind of like, again, how do you then navigate that in the moment? Because then when I recognize what I'm doing and I'm being pulled in, I then step back, but he's still looping.
Yes.
And the fact that I've stepped back makes him angry.
Yes.
Makes him rage. So he goes even more looping.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
It's fucking difficult to kind of keep your distance, but still be compassionate, still hold a loving space, but not be dragged in.
Yeah. I think it's impossible. I found it impossible personally.
Yeah. It's really, really hard. And that I think is what I struggle with the most, is that when he's around all of the time, because again, that's the other thing, he's now retired. So he's not working. So he literally is around all of the time. At least before, he was working from home when we went into lockdown. So he had the work to kind of keep him occupied. But now, oh my God, he just, he just wants to be with me all the time. He doesn't want to be alone. He can't be happy. He feels he can't be happy on his own.
Yeah.
So, so then he kind of becomes really clingy and really needy. And it's so difficult to maintain my own space, but still be compassionate and still be loving and still be in that space for me, which is really important, of being creative and doing my own thing, as well as then, being a mother and all of this other stuff that goes on.
This fascinates me, this stuff. Thank you for articulating all of that. The dynamics, the family dynamics, or the community dynamics of, one who is embodying more now. There's a fascinating thing I've observed by being around this. And hearing people, or just hearing people talk about this specific issue, challenge, conundrum, is even some of the words, I can't remember what phrases you were using, Liz, but it's like the words and the actions. It's like we're still saying, yes, your world is real. Your world is more real than mine.
Yeah.
It's almost like an apologetic posturing. Yeah. Like I'm sorry that I experienced this in a different way than you. Like there's a built-in kind of energetic apology.
Absolutely.
And that's the next step, is like if you were alone, and this is part of what the dialogue is, and that we talk about in the groups, is what I would do when I start to notice a pattern. I go, oh, I'm here. Oh, look. I just said that thing again. Oh. And so you're talking out loud, and you're like breaking the spell. That's what the dialogue, it's like you have these insertion points in present moment where you go, I have the dialogue, I remembered. Even me, after 16 years of practicing it, I still go, oh, I'm here. I choose love. That's how I open it. It's like my announcement that, oh, I'm online. Now, let me receive the information or the data that is more pertinent and guiding and will reveal so much more to me about what's actually going on here. And that's when we open to the data that can come in these other ways to inform us about how to move out of these spaces and still be respectful and loving and kind and compassionate. So I would imagine in that kind of scenario, you would simply go, this is just my imagination, Liz. So I'm not saying you should do this. I'm saying this is me putting myself in your situation. It's like, would it be like this? Like you just go, oh, I feel that pattern again, and you're talking to your kids and your husband, and it's like, yeah, this is that place where we were before. And I'm just going to say, here's my perspective. Here's what's true for me right now.
Yeah.
And so you're speaking the truth just like you do in a dialogue on your own. You're speaking your own honesty in full innocence and honesty. And so, but in the family dynamic and community dynamic, you're inviting, you're making that claim, aren't you? It's like, I claim this as real. Yeah. And I'm sorry if it freaks you out. I'm sorry if this is not how you see it. But in my claiming of it, I can't be this part-time and on my own. I have to be this all the time.
And the funny thing is that I go through these stages where I am more able to be in that space of speaking my truth. And when I do, oh my God, it's so great. Because it literally immediately in the moment takes it out of that patterning and puts it in a different space. And
it breaks a spell.
It breaks a spell. He responds to that. I respond to that, and we start off on a different path. So, and all it is, I think, for me, is just you always constantly have to be aware. You can't just kind of switch off at any moment. You really do have to be in the moment pretty much at all points. Because it is so easy to slip back into it without even realizing, because we're so ingrained and programmed with it all that it is so easy. So I find there are times when I found it easier to do that and times when I find it less easy to do that. And it's just, I find it really interesting to observe how that dynamic works. And now I think I'm learning to spot it before it gets too, before we get too into that dynamic and too stuck. Because once you're in there, it's really difficult to get out. And the longer you're in it, the harder it is to get out. So I think I'm beginning to realize and to be aware of that, yes, okay, now I need to be aware of when these patterns start coming up and actually start speaking my truth sooner, start coming out in that space sooner, because it does make it easier then as you go along, actually.
Absolutely.
I do, hard though it is, I do find it fascinating, this whole relational dynamics between people, because we can go through our own embodiment and we can go through our own experiences and our own expansions and our own integrations, but we're humans, we are humans here. So we do have to learn how to relate to people and how to navigate conversations, how to navigate relationships in any form that they might come. So hard though it is, I do find this a real fascinating exercise and learning about myself, because each time I do learn more about myself.
Of course.
And I do learn and grow more, and in the moment again, it's okay, it's like the experience I had, it's those loops, it's like, we're in that loop again. Okay, now I'm aware I'm in that loop. Okay, now at this point I'm going to make a different choice and I'm going to go off down this path. So, but you can only do that if you are in the moment and aware and with the having that dialogue and being with the presence. And I think that's the thing, it's always being able to come back to that solid grounding of the embodiment of it, And I think that's perhaps what we're all trying to work on in our different ways, is that, you know, we are here on earth. We do have these human lives. We do, to some degree or other, have to interact with the world as it is in some form or other. You know, Zuzanna, you were saying about your car and you had to give some documents in. You know, there's always these little moments that you have to interact. So that's what I find really interesting, that when we do start interacting with other human beings, how does that interaction take place? You know, how can we navigate that in the moment when we're meeting different people with different dynamics? Do you know
well, there's context here too, I feel, because the world we lived in, the world we were born into, is a conditioned, limited spectrum, you know, world. We're taught to disregard our, you know, most of our consciousness, or most of our awareness, which we had as a child, if we were fortunate enough. And so the navigating it, you know, for me, in my context, and a lot of what Zuzanna shares as well, was we just had this thing we knew inside of us. Okay, we have to navigate this. We have to be, you know, incognito and covert. And Zuzanna knew, don't tell your mom. Whatever you do, don't tell your mom, you know, because so she knew that she couldn't do that at that time, because the real world was definitely a collective agreement that wasn't going to be, you know, taken down anytime soon. So it was a covert navigating of, wait, how do they talk here? What am I supposed to say? You know, it's like you have to learn their language and how they operate in the world. You have to learn the scripts, and then we try them on, and you go, ugh. I tried it. I thought, you know, it was like you're in a play for a while, and it's like, I'm the wife and you're the husband, and this is what we do, and let's have a child, and you know, and it's like, not that that's bad. I'm not trying to say any of that's bad. It's a beautiful thing, but when it's a script, and you don't realize that you're in the program and your behavior is aligned with the programming. And then you start to lose yourself more and more and more to that programming. You know, we have to congratulate each other when we wake up enough to go, oh, you know what? This never was me.
Yeah.
So who am I after all?
Right.
And then that journey within begins. And you start to uncover, you pull out all this crap that you bought into, you know, and call it, you know, trauma, shadow stuff that you buried. And you said, you know, you don't belong here. So just kind of, I'm going to tuck you away in the bottom of my closet here, because nobody likes you and no one wants to see or hear from you. So that's the stuff that we start going within and uncovering and making way for that light to inform us and guide us. So there was some other point that it's like when you were talking, Liz, I'm, that's that feeling, you know, I want to say something.
I get that a lot,
It's like, it's pure joy. Okay, context is what I was talking about. So again, there's the context of the old paradigm, which is falling away, which, you know, when I first started getting these messages, that's basically what they were saying. Okay, everything's going to change. And here's what you're going to need to align with and remember within yourself in order to navigate better through these times. And so that's basically what all of these downloads were about, and why the interruptions. You see, being an experiencer is being interrupted.
I always like that term.
Yeah. And so what you were saying a few minutes ago, Liz, was you get, you get interrupted and you notice the pattern, right? So this is what ETs, or whatever beings you want to call them, however, ultra terrestrials, whatever, God bless them, they came here to interrupt my life over and over and over and over so that I would notice.
Yeah, so they would notice, right?
That I'm trapped in something that is not who I am. Just to keep it very simple, right?
That's really well put.
It's like it's constantly interrupted. And I used to curse them for interrupting me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now I am just, it's like, I'm so grateful.
Yeah.
So very grateful to have been interrupted all those times so that I could begin to make this climb out of this prison.
Yeah.
Out of this collective agreement that are like the prison bars. It's like our communities, our families, our teachers, our parents, our our congregation, church congregation. It's like they're all mimicking and playing out the scripts. And some of us that have been awakened or interrupted, we see the scripts, we see the acting, and it doesn't make us dislike those people. We have compassion that they're in pain, they're depressed, they're on medication, whatever the case may be. They're physically ill because their body is screaming at them, interrupting them from this rigid, old, ancient contract that we signed. Somehow we agreed to this. Now we're waking up out of it and we're saying, you know what? I don't agree with this anymore. I see that I was participating in this, and now is the time for me to accept my full power, my full memory, and to be this, even though I have no idea what that looks like. None whatsoever. How that plays out, right? It's like walking off the cliff, right? And, well, here goes one footstep. Oh, I didn't fall. Here goes another footstep. Here goes another one. And then suddenly you find you have wings. You don't know until you're doing it.
Yeah.
You can't just think about it. You have to actually engage with it.
Yeah.
I so feel this is where I'm at now, is this literally, I've woken up in this marriage that I've been in for 20 years. And actually, it's our wedding anniversary. It was yesterday, for 19 years or something.
Wait,
like
what are we
that.
supposed to say? Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations. That's so lovely. Great. But it's just really, really hard knowing that I started this relationship in one mode.
Yes.
And I'm in a completely different mode.
Yes.
Yeah. But he's not. He's still in that mode that we started in.
And God bless him.
Yeah.
Bless him.
Yeah. And I bloody feel for him, because I have just changed so much in the last 2 years. I don't know how he's coped with the acceleration of what I've been changing into. Mm-hmm. He's coped really well, actually. He's coped really well with it.
Yeah.
And what I love is that every step that I take in this, I've no idea where this is going. I've no idea where this relationship is going. I have a feeling I know what will happen in the future. But again, no details, no idea what's going on. So it literally is this one step in front of the other, and it literally is one day, and then the next day, and then the next day, and that's the only thing you can do.
Not unlike the recovery programs. What have we been addicted to? We've been addicted to this way of life that was given to us, and it is one day, one step at a time.
Yes.
It is. And I've no idea where we're going with it. I've no idea right now how to navigate. It's not like I can see my path, or that's where I need to go with this relationship. It's not like that at all.
Because you're not in the container anymore, where it's like, here's option A, here's option B, here's get a divorce, or go to counseling, or whatever the choices are in the script. You're not in the script anymore.
No.
So what we're doing is we're accepting our fullness as these creator beings that we were designed to be, and we're remembering how to create our lives and our environment and our world. And we can't even allow the judgment and the calling from the sidelines of she's crazy, somebody stop her. This is when we make that choice to anchor with the divine. Basically, it's like, what, I anchor with this light, and this is what I'm moving with, even though I don't know the details at all. So that's what I say congratulations to.
Thank you. Yay. I've just had another moment, a wow moment as well, what you said. Something to do with it's to do with consciousness, and it's to do with creating our own lives, right? So that's the other remembering I'm having as well right now, is that there's another way to live life, there's another way to do life, there's another way to create life, outside of this very small limited box of reality that we've all known. There's a whole new way to be and to create, and that's the other exciting thing that I'm loving right now, is finding those moments where I can go, here we go, I can do this differently now.
Yes.
I can come back to what I once knew. I can come back to, I remember how to do that. Yes.
And it's more like you're engaging your artist self, more than your linear thinking, this is the way you do it. But you're being creative, you're playing.
And that's the interesting thing about being in a marriage, is that marriage itself is so confined and limited and narrow spectrum, but and then the relationship that you have within that becomes that also. But then that's the really fascinating thing, is when you realize that when we get into these loops of the relational dynamics, that's what that is. It's coming back into that 3D perspective, that human perspective of what a relationship is, what a marriage is, and it's like that's where you end up looping. But it's like, again, when you step out of that and you come back into the world, to the real world.
I always call it the real world.
And you realize, no, this is all about frequency. And this is all about the fact that I can manipulate frequency, or I can transmute frequency. I can change it.
Right.
I have that power to direct my own life, actually just by sitting here and just thinking about it and being with it and being the emotional life of it. And that's how, and I've done that recently, I've put myself, I know that there's certain things coming up. And before, I would have worried about it, and I'd have thought about it, and I'd have made my plan of action of what I'm going to do.
Yes.
But this time I just went, no, actually, I can do it this way. And I sat there and I played with it and I created with it. Yeah. And I had fun with it, and I was joyous. And then I left it there. And then a while later, I entered that situation, and it was like, oh, this situation turns out really easily and really smoothly, and it's so joyous and happy. And I created this. I actually created this.
Yes.
You know, it's those moments of realization that, wow, this is consciousness. This is who we are.
This is our original design, is what these messages kept telling me, or I was translating frequency.
Yeah.
And it precisely what you're sharing, Liz, is they're trying to interrupt this programming. We interrupt this programming to your natural state. That's really what this is about. That's what I have learned as a lifetime experiencer. And there's an arc of evolution here. Now your arc of evolution, Liz, was you're referring to a 2-year time span. I feel it was longer than that, but that's when you like actively started engaging with it and going, oh, okay. But that this is what, when we look at, just if I can move over to the great disclosure or ufology theater that is happening right now. It isn't that I don't deny that these things aren't showing up in the skies and people are having experiences that in other dimensions perhaps relate somehow to that visual. Like, did something happen, before or after, or maybe this is another memory resurfacing, like we were discussing earlier, that didn't just happen now, but it was a memory that came back in. It's that I go by frequency and energy. This is what I was taught through all of my experiences. Here's how you use your body, your form, your heart consciousness, if you will, to your emotional intelligence to perceive, is there something here for me? This UFO government disclosure and military people talking about things they've seen in the sky, and it's not for me. I don't judge it as not being real. It's real to those who are engaged with it. But this is part of when we start to remember who we are and what our, particular gifts are. Our joy, our delight, our artistry. This fascination with UFOs, or UAPs now is the new name for it.
It's unidentified aerial phenomenon.
Aerial phenomenon. Again, it comes back to, this is your interruption. If you're fascinated with the skies and the UAPs and all that, fabulous. I've seen stuff too.
Yep, me too.
But if maybe that's just your interruption. Here's a visual for you because you really value the visual in your outer world. That's where you're actually going to perceive something. So they penetrate this reality to interrupt your programming. And the program is being interrupted now by these other intelligences as a gift. And then some people will say, but they hurt me. This was terrible. It was an awful experience. Well, that was a hell of an interruption then. Maybe you should dig in and find out what that's really about.
Right, right.
You know, it's an invitation. It's always an invitation when they interrupt our programming to make this announcement.
Yeah.
And so we're all, you know, that's why I keep saying we have to have compassion for each other. We're all in different places now. But I am not going to pretend I'm small and powerless anymore. I know what happened to me. I know what I learned. I know what I'm embodying now. And I'm very clear on it. And I have this evolutionary understanding now of why they are here. And it's a gift. And the sooner we respond to this interruption and invitation, the quicker we're going to transform ourselves and this reality. Because at a certain point, and what we were talking about earlier with Liz's dream and listening to that channeler, if you know, talking about 5G and stuff, at a certain point, for those who haven't done the introspective inquiring into the nature of reality in themselves, yes, that's who this technology will work on. Not those of us who have reclaimed our power. I don't know, maybe I'm not one of those. Maybe I will think that I was, and it's like, shit, I got to go back another round. You know, I don't know. See, that's the other part of it is what I do know, what I absolutely am clear on is what love is, and that I'm connected to it, and that it empowers me. And it's beautiful and delightful and joyful and blissful and harmonic, and it's fucking amazing. And I wouldn't have been able to feel it and experience it and recall it unless I had had the courage to face my fears about who these beings are and what is happening and why are they destroying my life and why can't I make this life work? What's wrong with me? You know, just all this stuff. I had to keep facing and facing and facing. That is not airy-fairy stuff. That's warrior stuff.
Right, right. That pisses me off when they do call it airy-fairy, you know, or woo.
Every time we get triggered, it's like, oh, we should be going, oh, good. There's something here for me to learn and integrate.
Look at, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. No question.
Yeah, because, I mean, you guys probably experience this too, where you come to a space in your life and then there's some marker inside of you that goes, remember how you used to act when this happened? And you go, oh yeah, I wasn't triggered. I must have healed that. I must have addressed that and healed it and integrated it. That's a sweet moment too.
Yeah.
When that happens, when we have that. We can compare with the old markers inside of ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, you guys just get me all worked up.
I'm glad that's my job to do that then.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I find these conversations so real, but so surreal at the same time.
Yeah.
Because, you know, who else can I sit here and talk to you about this stuff?
There'll be more and more as we go. Yeah.
You know, for so long, these kind of conversations have been in my head or out loud to the presence with the dialogue.
Yeah.
But not really ever to human beings. So,
Right.
you know, it does kind of feel a little bit surreal.
So that is a good word for it. Yeah, surreal. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
that-
so nice.
But
so
this
so nice.
actually happening.
Yes, it is like that. Oh my God, I'm having this conversation.
I know. Something I've been waiting for my whole life.
Yeah.
And it's really exciting when it happens. And it does happen more and more.
Do we feel complete with our conversation?
Thank you for listening.
Yes,
Thank you
indeed.
for wanting to share it, Liz.
Yes.
It was awesome.
I'm really glad that you reached out and shared that with us, Liz, because it led to this exploration, delightful exploration.
Yeah.
Thank
Keep it
you.
up.
Thank you.
Yeah. See, this is where they've always pointed me. I've done one iteration of this after the other.
Right.
And finally, I feel like I've landed in it to go, oh, this is what you meant.
Yeah.
That they want this kind of public conversation.
Yeah. The truthful speaking.
It is really funny when we've been talking. You know, we have these conversations, but then when I come away from them, I'm aware that there's also other frequency stuff that's going on between the three of us as well.
Yeah.
So I'm so in this kind of literally multi-dimensional space that it's then I can't sleep in that mode.
Yeah.
I totally know what you mean.
I understand. Yeah.
So, you know, it's having a bit of time just to kind of, you know, just to let that settle and let that integrate for a little while before you can then actually sleep. Because that's the other thing. I don't know whether you are waking up. I'm still waking up pretty much every night at the moment between 3 or 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock sometimes. And sometimes I'm literally awake and I'm being and I'm in that real multi-dimensional awareness and feeling and space. And it's just like, okay, that's it. Can't sleep anymore. Literally, I just cannot get back to sleep again. And so many times I'm just waking up in this space now. You know, and then that's a really weird thing because you kind of feel like, oh, well, I'm going to be really tired, or, you know, this has been going on for so long now. I must be exhausted. But the experience of that isn't that I'm exhausted all the time. And that's a new feeling for me, actually.
Yeah,
I relate to that.
For me as well. I've been insomniac for decades, basically, and it's always been a horror. But this last, say, year, maybe, I gradually recognized that I wasn't having the same exhaustion as I was previously. Something else is going on.
Yeah.
You know, it's not insomnia now, it's something else.
Yeah. And I gave up this morning. I think I probably woke up about 4:30. I think I laid there for about an hour trying to get to sleep. In the end, I got up and I went for a walk for an hour at 6 o'clock this morning.
Nice.
Awesome.
Nice.
Because I could not sleep, and I was going to come down and, you know, get on with a few chores. I thought, oh no, I'm just going to go for a walk. And I'm so glad I did, because it was a beautiful time in the morning. And of course, no one's around at that time. So it was absolutely beautiful. So I'm so pleased I did that.
Yeah. Good for you.
Yeah, thank you. And luckily it's light at the moment. I wouldn't be able to do that in the winter, but it's quite nice now.
Good. Yeah. That's that one step at a time. It's like, how does this work? How does this work with sleep? Wait, I'm supposed to get 8 hours, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll let you go so you can get yourself back into that sleepy state, Liz.
Yeah,
and
thank you.
Thank you again for Zuzanna and Liz for coming together for this. And
this was great. I love it. It's wonderful.
Just give me your thoughts about sharing later.
Yeah.
Okay.
Will do.
All
Will
right.
do. Okay.
Take
Thank
care.
you.